escape system, and that will be the final step before propel loading operations is underway. We're now into the part of the countdown where we're reminded this is a different mission. This is a human spaceflight mission. There are people on board. Crew access arm and launch escape system are in work.
Indeed for that. And for just some contextualization for the call that you just heard from the launch director when he was referring to fire alarms and the need to evacuate, that is in reference to the launch control team, which is in firing room 1 of the Launch Control Center here at the Kennedy Space Center. So in the event that a fire alarm were to sound in the Launch Control Center,
Vamos ver o Pedro.
first thing everyone does is
Pedro anda
remain
lá.
at their consoles until they can.
Tá tudo acontecendo conforme o esperado. Vamos lá. O pessoal mandou um sou fogueteiro aqui, muito bem, isso aí.
Vamos todos
Vamos olhar a
fogueteiros.
nossa hashtag aqui. Vamos olhar a nossa hashtag. Se tem fotos aqui, vamos ver se o pessoal mandou
Aqui eu vou
foto.
dar uma ajustada aqui.
Mandou foto aqui. Vamos acompanhar a retração, a gente já olha a nossa tag aqui. Tem pouquinha foto aqui agora. Umas 3 fotos só. Ricardo Cardoso
Tá
mandou
bom.
aqui. A Regine Aires mandou aqui também. E também, deixa eu ver quem foi o Alencar. A gente já vai olhar aqui. Ele está retraindo o braço já já. A gente já vai mostrar aqui as coisas. Vamos. Baita hype aqui. Isso aí. Somos todos fogueteiros. Isso aí, muito bem. Pedro, vai estar claro o suficiente para ter uma boa visão? Vai sim. Vai dar para ver bem, tá? Fica tranquilo. Vamos lá. Está tudo rolando, tudo dentro do esperado. Vamos acompanhando. Vamos ver aqui, imagina a ansiedade que deve estar lá dentro. Sim, cara. A ansiedade deve estar a 1000, cara. A 1000. O coração dos caras deve estar tipo... Bum. Rapidinho. Agora não dá pra desistir mais. Isso aí. Até dá, né, cara? Tipo, desistir não dá, né? Mas dá pra dar scrub, né? Mas scrub é difícil acontecer. Estamos com quase 2.800 pessoas acompanhando essa live no Space Orbit. Vamos lá, Pedro, quando vai ser a Dragon? A Crew 3 vai ser em outubro, tá? Temos mais um Pix aqui, vamos ver. Pix de 4 centavos do Acácio, muito obrigado pelo Pix Muqueana. Carlos Alberto mandou R$10. E o Ricardo Luiz mandou R$2 aqui pra gente, muito obrigado. Bom, estão armando o sistema de escape. Bom, estão armando o sistema de escape, tá? O ELIS, que ele falou, é o Launch Escape System. Júlia Rubia, boa noite, mande um salve para Jardel Daniele. Isso aí, salve para ele. Olha, o pessoal comemorando lá dentro, visão de dentro da cápsula. Está na hora, está chegando a hora, meu povo.
40 minutinhos.
Está chegando a hora do lançamento.
40 minutinhos,
Estamos
mano.
a 40 minutinhos do lançamento da Dragon. Vai começar o abastecimento. Está chegando a hora. 40 minutos. Vamos lá, só mandar aqui um tweet para o pessoal. A quem tá perdendo, para o pessoal não perder. Vai, acorda o papai, acorda a mamãe, acorda os amigos, chama a galera, tia, puxa o cobertor, desliga o disjuntor do chuveiro para o pessoal vir assistir o lançamento da Inspiration 4. Boa noite para o Renato. O SpaceX pode adiar o lançamento por achar que a recuperação do booster está prejudicada? Já fizeram isso. Tá? Já fizeram isso antes.
O SM20, eu tô ansioso pro SM20.
Feliz ali? Maravilha. Você é louco, eu já tô num cagaço, imagina a cidade. É isso aí. Demorei, mas cheguei. Boa noite. Salve para o Eudis Kelly, que tá sempre conosco aqui, muito bem. E salve para o filho dele, William. Maravilha. Pedro, qual a rota? É só um bate e volta? Não, você vai entrar em órbita, vai ficar 3 dias em órbita. Olha que belo pôr do sol ali na Flórida.
3 dias comendo.
Começou o abastecimento, o que tudo indica. Vamos lá.
Começou.
O pessoal tá comemorando ali na SpaceX. Vamos lá. História tá sendo escrita. Isso aí, Gardielli. Muito bom. Muito obrigado à minha esposa que me forneceu um pão com manteiga neste momento. Valeu mesmo. Você merece seu lugar no céu. Vamos lá. esse é o lançamento mais importante do ano? Não. É o lançamento tripulado mais importante do ano, mas não é o lançamento mais importante do ano.
Oh, mas importante.
Vamos lá. Eles vão ficar em órbita? Sim. Então o sistema de escape já foi armado e vai começar o abastecimento. Lembrando que o Falcon 9, nosso querido Falcon 9, tá? Ele é movido por dois tipos de propelentes, tá? Ele é movido por o oxigênio líquido e pelo querosene, tá bom? Por que ele tem que mandar oxigênio líquido? Porque o foguete tem um sistema que depende só dele para fazer o lançamento. Então ele tem o próprio oxigênio. Mesmo que se estivesse no vácuo, ele conseguiria queimar, tá certo?
Bom demais.
Vamos lá, vamos ver mais um feito histórico da SpaceX. Isso aí. Vamos lá. Daí que eu falei, esse pessoal vai ficar fazendo o que em órbita? Vai ficar curtindo a vista, porque a vista é maravilhosa. Pedro ficar quase 4 horas na live é soda. Isso aí, é soda mesmo. Charles falou que não consegue fazer o Pix pelo QR Code. Cara, usa na descrição, tem um e-mail, tá bom? Vamos lá? Quando será lançado o James Webb? 18 de outubro. Começou o abastecimento. E a gente vai começar a ver a famosa fumacinha. Até falou que. Até a Resende falou que ela é fogueteira. Muito bom. Você sentou numa fogueteira. Isso aí. Isso aí. Tem que ser. Não tem idade pra ser fogueteiro, tá? Vamos lá. Estamos com quase 3 mil pessoas na live. Está chegando a hora. Vai bater 3 mil. Vai bater 3 mil. Vamos ver. Vamos ver. Vai bater 3 mil. Eu vou botar o pão na boca. E vai bater. Quer ver? Só pelo.
Saúde física é equilíbrio entre o corpo e a mente, entre o corpo e as finanças.
Olha. Quer ver foguete.
The whole team there, you get to share it with Matt and I. And also,
Eu também não me ajudo, né?
And we're up to 196. Look at that.
The propellant, because it is a little bit different in terms of how the stages are loaded from one another. But yeah, coming up here in about 26 seconds will be the start of fuel loading. So densified liquid oxygen and RP1 kerosene will both flow simultaneously into stage 1, beginning at T-minus 35 seconds. Also at that point, RP1 kerosene only will begin flowing into stage 2.
Vamos aqui, ó. 1080.
Our rector lines in the big T-minus 20-minute vent. And then at T-minus 16 minutes, they will load the densified liquid oxygen onto stage 2.
Lançamento às 8 horas.
Are completed between the 3.5 minute and the 2
até
minute prior to liftoff. And we've crossed that mark, so propellant loading is
muito bom,
underway,
mano, muito bom.
and the auto sequence has also begun on the Falcon 9. So everything is choreographed. Teams are monitoring at this point, but basically at this point, it would be the auto sequence that would kick them out. Teams can manually abort if they need to, but the auto sequence would be what does it, and what makes sure everything is happening in sequence. And then at the T-minus 1 minute mark, the auto sequence hands off to Falcon 9's onboard computers, and Falcon 9 actually assumes control of the countdown through that and then flight after liftoff. And SpaceX countdowns are very quiet, so the fact that we didn't hear anything at T-minus 35 on the net, but they just kept going, means that they started propellant loading.
Eu fico impressionado com essa qualidade de batata que a NASA faz isso live.
It is roughly an 8
Tá
minute 45
multimilionário
second
com
set
uma
for
batata dessa.
Falcon 9, and then they will be in orbit, in their initial parking orbit, and Falcon, and then they will coast together. The second stage and Dragon will actually coast together until about 11 and a half or 12 to 12 and a half minutes after liftoff, which is done to help the propellants that are left over in the second stage settle down so there are no rear
Já Alpha
oscillations. So now the Dragon is
da
actually
nave é
propelled off
infinito,
the top
mas
of the second stage.
recebe
There's no
nessa
accidental
força
recontact between the trunk
do
and
exército.
the upper part of the second stage. So power descent is just under 9 minutes, and then they stay attached for another 2.5-ish minutes to let things, or 3.5-ish minutes to let things dampen out on orbit, and then they separate.
I believe we are just moments away from the big 200,000 raised here, just before T-minus 32. Just sort of waiting for that to tick over. I'm so excited.
That would definitely be, and I mean, an excitement galore. The press site is packed. So many people are here to watch them off. All the people who, a lot of the people who participated in the contests for Inspiration 4 got invited to come out to witness the launch. A lot of people who participated in fundraisers are here as well, and getting some wonderful VIP and up close views of the Falcon 9. And I really hope that for everyone who's here and who is on base at either the Saturn V Center, the Turn Basin, or the press site here at Kennedy, really,
O
if
cara é
you're by
foda, mano. O
chance
cara é
you're listening to us,
moderador da
really take a
NASA.
moment to live this moment, because you are as close to one of these
Foda.
vehicles as you can ever get when they leave the ground.
Chris, I need to
So-
interrupt you for just a second. At T-minus 32, $200,000 raised for St. Jude.
Boa.
Incredible job, everyone.
Lá no Pedrão.
Estão mostrando um pouquinho da emissão agora. Estamos já mostrando esse vídeo várias vezes. Mostrando um pouquinho de cada um dos participantes. A cápsula é pressurizada com 100% de oxigênio? Não fazem mais isso, tá? Já deu bem.
Ainda bem.
Melhor transmissão até agora. Valeu, Sam Moraes.
Ainda bem que
valeu
não
mesmo.
fazem mais.
Eles poderiam levar um robô que diminui os batimentos cardíacos aí, o pessoal das cápsulas. Que? Como assim? O William Wonka mandou 2 euros. Sim, eu vi aqui, agradeci, meu querido. Mandou aqui, ajudou na nossa aposentadoria. Márcio mandou. Ô, Márcio, salve pra você, virou membro Falcon. O Márcio já era membro aqui, né?
Mas só ação, eu tô conversando só ficar átomo na porta. Tô conversando com os amigos aqui. Não, mano. Falta de educação.
Do Amaral mandou 5 reais com Starship. Poderiam levar mais pessoas e mais barato para o turismo. Eles poderiam ver a ISS lá de cima. Sim. Vai sair às 9? Sim. Falta meia hora para o lançamento. Vocês estão no Space Orbit. Deixa seu like, se inscreva no canal e clique no sininho. Se quiser contribuir conosco, já sabe, manda um superchat, um Pix Orbit, que o QR Code está aqui, ou na descrição tem um e-mail, ou torne-se membro a partir de R$ 2,99 ao mês e tenha benefícios exclusivos. Vamos lá, Thiago Gabriel
Opa,
chegou
ó.
aqui. Ele falou, aí, alô, é hoje, isso aí, cara. Olha, o Thiago Gabriel, Thiago, quero falar um negócio. Qual é a coisa que o Jeff Bezos e o Palmeiras têm em comum? Conta pra mim, Thiago. Eu espero a sua resposta. Vai lá, vamos lá. Márcio mandou 20 reais aqui pra gente. Voltei, valeu, obrigado, meu querido. Tamo junto, vamos lá. Pedro, tem alguma notícia sobre as missões espaciais brasileiras?
Palmeiras
Cara,
não
pra fazer
tem
um foguete
mundial.
VLM, na verdade. Pra
É a
2020.
Blue Origin.
Alô, salve, Pedro. Minha esposa está assistindo
Não é-
comigo. Salve pra ela também, Alexandre D. Muito
Ah.
bem. Pedro, como aconteceu com o Falcon Heavy que trouxe mudanças no mercado, a entrega
Tá,
futura
não
das
fez um
taxas
mundial?
anteriores pode incentivar a criação de satélites que podem receber manutenção? Talvez sim, tá, Vinícius? Não é certeza, mas talvez sim, tá bom? Vamos ver aqui. Criatório Tapeu, salve pra você que está sempre conosco. Olha, o Insta, cara, o Insta é mais complicado, porque eu mandei um monte de piojo. Valeu, Flavião. O Flavião tá sempre contribuindo com a gente. Pedro, saiu notícia agora de que o BO processou a SpaceX por o quê? por usar um domo, porque domo é coisa de terraplanista. Boa.
Ah, bom.
Ai, ai, cadê o Thiago que respondeu? Sei lá, olha, o Thiago e o Gabriel falou, cara, o Jeff Bezos e o Palmeiras têm uma coisa em comum, que eles dois não têm mundial. Não é verdade? Olha só. O Israel Saverginini mandou aqui R$10, muito obrigado. Manda um abraço para a família Saverini, reunida para acompanhar melhor a transmissão do YouTube. Muito obrigado. Vamos lá, vamos lá. Está na hora, faltam menos de 30 minutos para o lançamento histórico de turistas para a órbita terrestre. Olha só, vai ser muito legal. Vai ser muito legal. Vai ter foto bonita, vai ter momentos incríveis. Domo é cúpula, tá? É cúpula, tudo cúpula, pelo amor de Deus. Por que os chineses são tão avançados? Porque os chineses são tão avançados que conseguiu colocar a própria estação em órbita, mas não conseguem fazer a própria cápsula. Eles estão fazendo, cara. Estão fazendo. Eles têm a própria cápsula. Eles lançam os seres humanos com a própria cápsula. É a Shenzhou. Mandei um monte de pios. Valeu aí, Flavião. Lê, já li. Assim, os PIX é difícil. Gente, o PIX não mandei. Pode até mandar, mas não vou conseguir ler. Porque é muito difícil ler no aplicativo aqui do Bradesco. O Wesley.
Vamos dar uma olhada.
This historic space flight. Part of NASA's Human Research Program, Trish is a virtual institute that finds and funds disruptive science and medical technology in order to reduce health and performance risks in space explorers.
Yeah, we saw Kate with Diana earlier putting on some really colorful sunglasses. They're not really sunglasses, but it was an experiment about how do we understand motion sickness and sort of the ups and downs in space. That is something I'm super excited about because I get a lot of motion sickness here, and so I'm hoping that it helps a lot of people.
To see firsthand some of the equipment that the crew has in their cargo hold. Like we've said before, this is a science mission in addition to it's a 3-day science mission basically. And one of the other things that Diana showed us was the ultrasound reader and how the intracranial fluid changes while you're in space. So lack of gravity essentially means that instead of the fluids in your body being concentrated towards your feet, they kind of they equalize towards your head, which can affect vision. And they are planning to use that ultrasound reader, which they just plug right into an iPad to do readings live inside crew Dragon of their eyeballs while they're in space for 3 days.
That was so cool to see.
Yeah.
In addition to all the awesome science going up on today's mission, the Inspiration 4 team is also using this mission to bring awareness and help fundraise for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. The Children's Research Hospital opened in Memphis, Tennessee in 1962, and ever since has been committed to finding cures for kids with cancer and other life-threatening diseases, regardless of their socioeconomic status, race, belief, or ethnicity. St. Jude has invented treatments that help push the overall childhood cancer survival rate from 20% to more than 80% in the United States. In developing countries, that number is unfortunately not that high, with fewer than 1 in 5 children with cancer surviving. St. Jude has a bold mission to change that.
The Inspiration 4 mission is part of an ambitious fundraising goal to give hope to all kids with cancer and other life-threatening diseases. Ways to go. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll notice that there's a donation button where you can make your own contribution. Any amount, big or small, makes a big difference, and it's super easy to do. So go ahead and click the donate button and give what you can to help save a child's life.
Beyond the good this mission will do for science and childhood cancer, this mission is also exciting because it's the debut of the new Dragon Cupola. I think we have some footages here of the cupola. It is going to be the largest continuous window in space ever by a factor of 2 and has over 2,000 square inches of viewing area.
Ai, tá dando delay. Tô com ping de alto.
Yeah, and there's a lot that went into the design for this. This is going to outer space, so it needs to be designed and tested for
aí, ó, a cúpula.
while it's out in space. It's a
SpaceX tá fazendo o domo pra terra
needs to act as a fully functioning portion of the spacecraft.
Yeah, we were talking about
Ele é o dono da
reusability
Terra
earlier,
plana.
and this capsule is being used for the second time on this mission. It previously supported the Crew 1 mission in November of last year, but this cupola is brand new to this capsule, brand new to SpaceX. We're debuting it on this mission, and it is, there's a view of it there in an anechoic chamber, and it's just incredible that we're basically gonna have 360 views of space from the
Aí vai ter o domo pra ter a melhor visão possível. Muito da hora, mano.
And this is an animation showing how its position in Crew Dragon is a little different. So Crew Dragon used to dock autonomously, or does dock autonomously to the International Space Station, that port there being underneath the nose cone, and that was removed, and for this mission is now replaced by the cupola, as we just saw. So super cool new piece of hardware that I'm so stoked to see launch here.
As we await T0 in about 23 minutes, the ground operations teams are doing a series of system checks to make sure both Dragon and Falcon 9 are ready for launch. Let's take a look at what the ascent portion of the mission will look like.
Once we hit T0, we will watch Falcon 9 and Dragon lift off from historic launch pad 39A and make their ascent. At about 50 seconds into flight, Falcon 9's engines will throttle down to help pass through the period of maximum dynamic pressure on the rocket, or what we typically refer to as max Q. And it's worth noting that once we hit max Q, the vehicle will be going supersonic.
Once we are through the period of maximum dynamic pressure, we can throttle up our Merlin engines again. From here, there are about 2.5 minutes into flight, and a series of 3 events that happen in rapid succession. First is MECO, or main engine cutoff. This is where all 9 Merlin engines shut off in preparation for stage separation. Stage separation is where the first stage detaches from the second stage, with the first stage making its way back to Earth and landing as the second stage continues on its journey with the third event.
Which is SCS-1, or second engine start 1, and that is where the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage lights up and propels the second stage along with our Inspiration 4 crew to orbit. As Stage 2 heads towards its targeted drop-off orbit, Stage 1 will execute 2 burns in order to make its way back to Earth. The first is the entry burn, which is where 3 of those 9 Merlin 1D engines will reignite and then shut down, and that'll help slow the stage down in preparation for entry back into the Earth's atmosphere.
While the first stage is heading back to Earth, the second stage will cut off its one Merlin engine that was ignited right after stage separation. Once this happens, we will wait for confirmation of a good orbital insertion. About 90 seconds after Dragon gets into orbit, Falcon 9 will land back on Earth. The landing burn, a single engine burn, will bring the vehicle speed down rapidly in order to land on the drone ship.
Não, tá aí como aqui tá, na verdade é como ele religar lá. Pousar. A Dragon vai se separar.
3 minutes after the second stage gets into orbit, we should have a great view of Dragon with its 4-person crew drifting away from the second stage. Once Dragon is a short distance away, it will begin checking out its Draco maneuvering thrusters to make sure Dragon continues to increase separation distance from the second stage.
Se der certo,
the nose cone deploy sequence will initiate just before T plus 12 minutes and end around the T plus 15-minute mark.
A tampa da cúpula, sei lá, depois seria recheada, eu acho que é alguma coisa assim.
We've just heard it. T-minus 20 minutes, 5 seconds counting. Stage 2 fuel load is complete.
Aí estão falando do segundo estágio, que vai ser um momento emocionante. Literalmente, Inspiration 4.
And if you joined us earlier in the broadcast, we had a pretty important question for the Inspiration 4 crew that remains unresolved. For those of you who missed that, here's your chance to weigh in.
If I had to choose between Star Wars, Star Trek, and then one of my other favorites is Stargate as G1, I would rather trek across the universe than fight my way.
I've heard, are you a Star Wars guy? Are you a Star Trek guy? those used to be true. I really think I'm a Battlestar Galactica guy, to be honest.
There's no question it's Star Wars. Like, I'm a Star Wars fan, for sure. I would say that if I had to guess, it's a split crew between Star Wars and Star Trek.
Ele tá bem pousado com o papo do sonoro, que é coisa boa coisa.
Can't beat Captain Adama.
I think Jared is Star Wars.
Eu gosto de Star
Cyan
Wars.
is Star Wars. Chris is the wild card, but I think he's Star Wars.
Oh, Jared is definitely Star Wars. I think Chris is probably Star Trek, but I'm not 100%
A probabilidade
sure.
disso ser momento histórico é muito grande.
Star Wars. I think Star Trek is too old for
Isso
her.
parece muitas coisas de Star Wars.
I wanted to be Bones. I kind of am a medical officer, so.
I don't know if we're like completely unified around that. I mean, there is other, sci-fi, spacey stuff that comes before Star Trek.
Ah, isso é como se fosse sonho
I
sci-fi.
don't know they're wrong. Like that just they'll learn that over time. Like.
I like Jared's last little comment there. They don't know they're wrong. When you're the commander of the mission, I wonder what your vote counts. Just under T-minus 18 minutes, everything continues to go well. We're getting ready to start LOX loading on the second stage. That'll bring us another step closer to launch at 8:02:56 p.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time. Falcon 9 is going to take
Olha a fumacinha. Olha o oxigênio voando.
kilometers. Shortly after that, we will raise Dragon's orbit to 575 kilometers in a circular orbit, higher than the space station, higher than the space telescope. For 3 days, a series
Vão
of
usar o
amazing views
telescópio
that
da
Jared and the team should have
Rayane
looking
Space
through the
para
windows
observar
and the cupola up
o
there on
foguete.
Inspiration 4 Dragon.
This crew will see about 15 orbits a day at this altitude. They'll get to experience 15 sunrises and 15 sunsets, which
Esses
should be
13
pretty incredible.
minutos até a
And just as a
órbita são uma
comparison,
experiência.
John mentioned the International Space Station is going to be a little bit lower than where this crew is
Passaram
going to.
acima da estação
Because
espacial.
the International Space Station is closer, it takes a little less time to orbit the Earth, so they see 16 orbits a day. Relative to what this
E
Inspiration
passaram
4
3
crew will
dias
see
em
will be
órbita.
15 orbits a day.
I do want to comment on what we're seeing on screen. This is the Falcon 9 rocket.
LOX load has started.
Minuto a menos.
That was the call up for stage 2 liquid oxygen loading. You can start to see some white clouds
Estamos
around Falcon 9.
esperando
That is normal
para
and
todos os
expected for us
processos
at
serem
this stage of the
encerrados.
countdown. We are topping
A
off that
estação
super
da
chill liquid
ANC.
oxygen. And when it reaches the warmer ambient air temperatures of Florida, it starts to condense and form those clouds that you see.
Now, if you
Poxa,
notice
a
that
fumacinha é
the
muito da
second
hora.
stage there is a slightly whiter shade than the first stage, that's because the first stage has been reused twice before. It previously supported the GPS 3.4 and GPS 3.5 missions back in 2020 and 2021 of this year. So that booster is making its third flight today. The Dragon capsule is making its second flight. It previously flew on the
A
NASA
cápsula Dragon
mission
foi
to the
feita para
International
voar
Space
nele.
Station. So that's why the second stage looks a little different than the first stage there, just underneath it.
Again, if you're just now joining us, you are tuned in to the first all-civilian mission to orbit, known as Inspiration 4. It's getting very exciting here. We're just a little over T-minus 15 minutes from T0.
15 minutos.
And we started covering the action at T-minus 4 hours with the crew walking out of Hangar X. They made their way over to the Falcon support building where they got suited up. And then we saw them hop on the Teslas, ride up to the pad, go up the big service structure and walk down that lit crew access arm that we see there connecting Falcon 9 to the tower. And it's hard to believe that we're now under 15 minutes before launching the first all-civilian mission to orbit. Again, these are 4 non-professional astronauts. They're people just like us, and they're going to be going to space for 3 days. They're going to be orbiting orbiting Earth at 17,500 miles per hour. So they're basically going so fast that they won't fall back to Earth until we tell Dragon to do so. And they're going to be going up to a height of
Opa, Lúcia, fala aí pra nós, você é um
575
fogueteiro de plantão?
And at
Você
those
gosta de
speeds and at those
foguete?
altitudes, they're going to be doing a tons of science, which is super cool. And all of that data is
A
going to be
ciência de
available
foguete é
for
algo
folks
incrível.
to continue to push the boundaries of what human space exploration will be in their near future.
Fala aí pra nós, como que tá a live? Vocês estão gostando?
So that's a live view of Falcon 9 with Crew Dragon for the Inspiration 4 mission sitting on top. There we can see our 4 soon-to-be astronauts there, comfortable in their seats. Throughout
Meu
the
inglês
day,
não é
we have seen a lot of
muito bom,
camaraderie,
eu
a
tô
lot of
tentando
joking, and I
interpretar
imagine
aqui, mas tá
that
difícil.
they're now, things are starting to get a little more serious. They're really focusing in on the task at hand, which is going to space in just a little over 13 minutes.
Yeah, this is very exciting.
6 minutos
If
do
you've been following
lançamento.
along, they do have a Netflix documentary following their journey all the way up until this point. And the crew has just been so incredible. It's been so amazing to watch them throughout this whole process.
Essa roupa que eles estão usando, ela é só pra dentro da nave. Caso alguém pergunte, não irão sair.
We're just inside T-minus 13 minutes, counting down. Everything is still looking good for launch of Falcon 9
É como se fosse traje de mergulho.
8 hours, 2 minutes, 56 seconds.
Em 12
Eastern
minutos
Daylight
estão
Saving Time
voando.
coming up very shortly. Falcon 9 did begin propellant loading on time at T-minus 35 minutes. Loading of the RP1 kerosene fuel onto the second stage is complete. That closed out right on time. Fuel loading is continuing on the larger first stage tank. It's about half full right now. That'll finish the T-minus 6 minutes. We ought to hear that call out on the webcast. We're continuing to load densified liquid oxygen onto the first stage and into the second stage tanks. Now,
Até a situação do
will
segundo
wrap up in
estágio.
about T-minus 3 minutes on first stage, T-minus 2 minutes on the second stage. Now, a reminder, now that we are into propellant loading, we cannot stop the countdown and try to launch later in the window. So
Caso alguma coisa de errado, não poderão parar.
the countdown clock, those dreaded words, hold, 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 we don't want to hear. We will
Ah lá,
have
o
to
cara
stop
mandando
for the night and
coraçãozinho,
try
que
again.
bonitinho, mano.
We have a launch opportunity tomorrow, just a little bit later.
É uma oportunidade única.
In addition to the Falcon 9 being go, the range is go. Weather. We've had great cooperation out of the Florida
Eles
weather,
estão indo em nome
both
da
ground level, upper
corporação.
altitude, and around the world at the contingency
Então,
landing sites.
dá uma volta ao
On the
mundo.
Dragon spacecraft, Dragon mission director and that team has reported no issues. They've done their
O
communications
SpaceX está
checkouts.
muito feliz com a
Three-axis
Crew
arm, you
Dragon.
can see, is retracted away from the Dragon spacecraft. We armed the launch escape system on time. And on the right-hand
Demorou
side of
muito
the
tempo a
monitor, you can see
SpaceX
the
fazer
four-person
ela.
crew strapped in, and they are ready to go. Coming up in about a minute, we're going to get final instructions to the crew at T-minus 10 minutes. They're going to configure their crew displays for launch, and that's a setup that'll give the crew insight into how the launch is proceeding, and it'll provide updates on vehicle health. Then we'll get a little closer at T-minus 5 minutes. We'll be into terminal count for the Dragon spacecraft. Dragon will go to internal power. We'll hear continued call-outs of the
Isso
countdown again as we
é
get
um
close to
feito
zero and liftoff.
incrível.
Now, next major event coming up right now, T-minus 10 minutes, as I said. Dragon will get its
Em
final
10 minutos
instructions.
estarão.
We will also
Isso
do
é
a
muito
final
maneiro,
series
mano.
of checks of Falcon 9 telemetry against a preset limits. Make sure that all systems are go.
E verão seus
Moving from
limites.
there into the closeouts on propellant, chilling into the engines to get ready for engine ignition down at about T-minus 2 seconds. Let's listen in on the countdown net for a minute.
Dragon, SpaceX.
Ó, eu vou ver se eu arranjo
displays are
coloco um
configured for
webcamzinho
launch.
aqui, ó. Ela não é muito bom, mas eu acho que vai dar pro gato.
SpaceX Dragon, our displays are configured for launch.
Copy that, Dragon. And it has been an absolute honor to prepare you for this historic flight. Today, you are truly inspiring the world. We wish you a great mission, good luck, Godspeed, and enjoy the ride.
Cadê?
T-minus 10 minute checks. Next major event coming up, I think you've got that event.
Yeah, that was, I just want to note, that was SpaceX 4, which stands for the Crew Operations and Resource Engineer. That was the voice of Sarah Gillis, and she is basically the primary resource to the crew. We can see some excitement there on the right-hand side of your screen as the crew, I think they're really starting to realize that they're going to space in under 10 minutes. Now, the next major event that we have coming up will occur at T-minus 7 minutes. You'll hear the call out for engine chill. Engine chill is simply, as the name says, we chill down some of the hardware in the engine. We're actually going to flow a little bit of the super chilled, densified liquid oxygen through the turbo pumps and allow that hardware to basically come down, the temperature come down. This allows us to avoid any thermal shock to the hardware when the full flow of super chilled liquid oxygen occurs at startup. So they are on your screen. Dragon Resilience with the Inspiration 4 crew strapped in their seats there at the top of the rocket. Once again, if you're just joining us, this is the first all-civilian mission to orbit, and they are going to space in 7.5 minutes. They will be ascending to an altitude of 575 kilometers above Earth and orbiting Earth at that altitude for 3 days. There's that crew there on your screen. On the far left seat is Chris Dombrowski. Next to him, Dr. Cyan Proctor, the pilot. Next to her to the right, Commander Jared Isaacman. And to the right of Jared, Haley Arsenault, the medical officer.
Stage 1 engine chill has started.
All right, there's that call that Stage 1 engine chill has started.
We don't really have a good view, but right now at the base of the Falcon 9, the 9 Merlin engines are beginning to vent a little bit of liquid oxygen overboard down into that flame bucket. As Kate says, that's chilling in the turbo pumps in preparation for going to high-speed flow, 15-minus 2 seconds. Nice view on top of the fixed service structure looking. Beginning to vent a little bit of liquid oxygen overboard down 4.5 minutes before launch when the arms open up and then the strung back will recline away a couple of degrees. What we're getting ready for right now is that call out. We're right on time. The fuel load, the RP1 kerosene, refined petroleum 1, is loaded onto the first stage. So that leaves us with just liquid oxygen loading continuing on both first and second stage. You can see that moist Florida air slowly breezing by the 2 chilled down liquid oxygen tanks. And you can see the mist coming off as the moisture, the humidity in the air condenses and gives you those clouds.
Yeah, that super chilled liquid oxygen coming into contact with the ambient Florida air. So creates these puffs of white clouds, as John said, completely normal. In fact, we will be seeing more of those once LOX load completes and those lines are closed off to the vehicle. Now coming up in just about 10 seconds, we should be hearing the call that Dragon has been transitioned to its terminal count configuration.
Dragon has transitioned to configure for terminal count.
Falcon 9 tanks are pressurizing for strung back retract.
Everything continuing to go on schedule. We're beginning to pressurize the tanks. That'll help stiffen the second stage up. Is the 2 hydraulic clamp arms will open up coming up here very shortly.
Strung back is lowering.
As you can see on the timeline there, at the bottom of your screen, the strung back retraction is the next major event. In fact, the last back is beginning to retract.
And Kate, that strong back will move back just a couple of degrees you see here. Then at T0, when the Falcon 9 sends the liftoff command to the ground to release it, hydraulics will bring that strong back the rest of the way to about a 45-degree position at liftoff.
Stage 1 lock load complete.
We've got the call out right on time. First stage liquid oxygen loading is complete. Shutting down the ground pump. We're down to just loading second stage liquid oxygen.
And now, under 3 minutes until the launch of Inspiration 4.
Dragon has transitioned to thermal count and is on internal power.
All right, there's that call out that Dragon is now running on its own power. It is no longer connected to the power systems of Pad 39A. As you just heard, the crowd is super excited here at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California, as we are now under 2.5 minutes until the launch of the Inspiration 4 crew. That crew there can be seen on the right-hand side of your screen, buckled in and ready to go.
Ó, mudar o return. Esse é mais interessante. Ó, fumacinha. Esse aqui, ó.
Stage 2 lock load complete.
And there's the call that stage 2 lock load is
Dragon
complete.
is an auto idle.
Falcon is now fully loaded with all of its propellants.
Closeout will begin shortly. Expect loud venting.
Announcement to let the crew know that as we vent off various lines on the launch pad, we'll hear some loud noises. Let the crew know that's planned. We're also right now draining liquid oxygen out of the transporter erector, draining the lines, getting ready for launch. Waiting for the startup call at T-minus 1 minute.
FPS is on. Second round is in startup. Dragon is in countdown.
Starter. The Falcon 9 file computer Falcon control o controle de voo foi iniciado.
Inspiration 4 is go for launch. Punch it, SpaceX.
Command to call it down. 30 seconds. Punch it, SpaceX.
Nossa, mano.
T-minus 15 seconds.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignição. 3, 2, 1.
Okay, we heard the call out. MVAC D is chilling. We're beginning to get the turbo pump ready on the second stage engine for ignition. We're passing through 3 G's acceleration. Everything continues to look nominal. Our wet engines are throttling down for G limiting. 4 G's, we're holding it there for the crew. Major event coming up will be main engine cutoff, followed by stage separation, looking at the second stage engine nozzle, and then ignition of the second stage.
And Miko. Stage separation.
Segundo estágio ligado. Esse é um óbvio de Mark 6,
Officially, the Inspiration 4 crew are now on their way to space. First stage booster there on the left-hand side of your screen is making its way back down to Earth. The grid pins have popped out to assist with the steering. It will be making a landing attempt on our drone ship. Just read the instructions, which is parked out in holding position in the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, so we have a couple of views on screen.
Signal Bermuda.
As Kate mentioned, the left-hand side is a view from the top of our first stage looking down. That has already separated from the second stage, and it's making its way back to Earth. The velocity of the first stage
Trajectory nominal.
is being tracked on the bottom left-hand side of your screen. On the right-hand side of your screen is a view of our second stage Merlin vacuum engine. On the opposite end of that engine is the second stage and the crew, which sits on top of the second stage. Everything looks to be going normally with them, and you can also track the velocity on the second stage on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. We also have awesome views of the crew inside of the capsule as well.
I'm pretty sure during first stage ascent, I saw Dr. Cyan Proctor. I'm pretty sure I saw Dr. Cyan Proctor give us 2 thumbs up. I'm sure she enjoyed this ride that she's been waiting for her entire life.
One notable thing too is we're getting some twilight views. The sun just set in Florida, but we're high enough up where the lights around the horizon is also reflecting off of very high altitude objects, such as the first and second stages.
Dragon SpaceX trajectory nominal.
Love to hear that call out. Trajectory nominal from the guidance engineer. Also notice we're really up there now, well past 100 kilometers.
Acquisition of signal, New Hampshire.
Just before that view switched, we saw some teammate fist bumps going on there inside of the cabin.
Yeah, they look like they're having a fun ride there. And their journey isn't over. We've got about 7 more minutes until Dragon separates from the second stage.
Yes, next milestone for this mission is actually going to be happening on the first stage. It's going to be performing a re-entry burn that's going to be coming up around the T+7 minute and 30-second mark. That burn is used to slow down the first stage before it re-enters the denser parts of the atmosphere. A few minutes later, it will execute a landing burn and make an attempt to land on our drone ship that's currently parked in the Atlantic Ocean.
Dragon SpaceX trajectory nominal.
Dragon copy.
Ô, internetzinha, mano.
So far, I was just going to say, so far, everything looking great for the Inspiration 4 crew. Hearing that everything is proceeding nominally there with the second stage, which is what you see on the right-hand side.
Proportions nominal.
I was just going to say that MVAC engine we just heard now is looking nominal.
Mark 13, 201 km.
About a minute left to go before the first stage performs its first burn.
And on your left-hand side, looking at the first stage, you may see those white puffs. Those are the nitrogen puffs helping to steer and guide
crew on the right-hand side of your screen. I think I see some more thumbs up there. Dr. Proctor is clearly excited that she's finally in space. Again, this mission will be orbiting Earth for 3 days, and they will be at an altitude of 575 kilometers, which, if I remember correctly, John you said that is the distance from Los Angeles to the Golden Gate Bridge.
There you go. They're going to get there a lot faster.
There's two, I forget the tape.
Right now.
Começou a filmar. Ele voltou pra terra.
So what you're seeing on screen on the left-hand side is the entry burns, the first of 2 burns on the first stage. Again, this first stage has already separated from the second stage. So the first stage is making its way back to Earth, trying to land, and the second stage, everything is going well. It is headed into orbit with the crew on board.
Actually, there on your screen, you can see a sunrise horizon there with planet Earth just behind the glowing MVAC engine.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
All out stage 2 in terminal guidance. We're at the altitude. We're working the angular momentum we need to get into the right orbit. If you're wondering, cruise pull about 3.5 Gs right now, less than they took on the first stage flight.
So in about 15 seconds, we are expecting
Copy Shannon.
We're expecting the MVAC to throttle down and cut off an event called second engine cutoff, and then we'll wait for the confirmation of good orbit. At the same time, the first stage will be beginning its landing burn. And here we have the MVAC. We just saw that it shut off its engine.
Alright, good news there. Nominal orbit insertion. That's amazing news for Inspiration 4 crew.
Doorstep of an exciting and unexplored frontier. A few have come before and many are about to follow. The door's opening now, and it's pretty incredible.
Stage 1 landing is Dragon Space Center launch escape system is disarmed.
We just heard from Jared thanking everyone for making this the Dragon capsule and crew are in a nominal orbit. In a few minutes here, we'll begin opening that. In a few minutes here, we'll separate from the second stage, and then shortly after that, we'll begin opening that nose cone. At the same time, we landed our first stage on the drone ship, which is super exciting.
I think the second stage action wasn't exciting enough.
Right.
So there's that MVAC engine, like we mentioned before, it has already shut down in an event known as second engine cutoff. And the crew are now gliding, if you will.
Now, one thing right now is we're coming up just under 11 minutes in the flight. We're waiting another minute and a half or so before we get into the separation sequence. We're second stage is going through a series of events where we make sure that gases are all pushed out of the system. There aren't any what they call disturbance torques. We want to make sure that the second stage is very stable, it's quiet, it's not moving around, it's not doing anything. So we give it a few minutes to actually just vent everything down, then go into quiet mode. Then Dragon will send the command to separate itself from the Falcon 9. It'll be pushed away. The Falcon 9 stays in orbit for a while until it eventually comes back to Earth, and then Dragon moves on its way.
Yeah, John, you talked about the terminal count earlier today, and this is almost similar to that. It's like another check before the next thing, before the next event that happens.
The beauty of the countdown.
Okay, we're about 30 seconds away from separation of Dragon from the second stage. The view on the left-hand side of the screen is the view of the unpressurized section of Dragon. So it's the back end, the trunk section of the Dragon. So when we do see separation, we'll see that kind of push away from the second stage and make its way into orbit.
appreciate everyone's help back in LCC.
That was the voice of SpaceX Chief Engineer Bill Gerstenmayer communicating with Inspiration 4 Commander Jared Isaacman.
Janelas liberadas, visão ao espaço.
The Dragon has separated away from the second stage, and that's the view that we have on the left-hand side of your screen. A lot of space there. The next and then the next event that we are anticipating is the opening.
SpaceX nominal dehumidifier activation and service section Draco checkouts.
We're going to open up that nose cone.
Vamos lá no...
Heard the call out. Nominal Draco checkouts after separation.
And there's that first view that we have over the shoulders of Commander Jared Isaacman and pilot Cyan Proctor. Dr. Cyan Proctor is on the right-hand side, and Jared is on the left-hand side. And this is their dashboard for the next 3 days. These touch screens provide them all of the...
Se você quer vender online, seu negócio precisa se destacar. Vá para o Wix e-commerce e crie uma loja virtual
Beleza. Vamos ver aqui. Que bom, que bacana, que bonito. Eu tô muito feliz. Muito feliz. Vamos lá, vamos ler os pics aqui enquanto a gente vai acompanhar. Aqui na ponta, tá? Eles vão abrir. O pessoal falando que parabéns pela transmissão. Muito obrigado ao Johnny Marcão. Muito obrigado a todos que estão acompanhando aqui, tá? Pedro, mas se soltarem o segundo estágio, eles vão conseguir. A 500 km eles estão em 200. Cara, a órbita vai aumentando, tá? Nesse ponto. E eles fazem algumas correções também pra fazer, tá certo? Umas correções de altitude. Temos aqui Johnny Peca mandou 40 centavos de Pix Muqueana. Josinaldo mandou R$1. Francisco mandou R$5. Francisco Zero, tá aqui. José Lindenberg mandou 4,10. Alexandre Erraia mandou 15,09. Joslene mandou 2,50. Donizete Caldearo mandou 5. Flávio Fabeni mandou 1,50. João Paulo Schmidt mandou 10 centavos. Dionísio mandou 1 centavo de Pix Muqueana. Diogo Wallace mandou R$10. Muito obrigado. Guilherme Pereira mandou R$2. Adriano Felipe mandou R$1. Arthur Vitor Souza mandou 4 centavos. Rogério Sueshiro mandou R$2. Leocádio mandou 10,99. Arthur Vitor Souza mandou 2 centavos de Pix Muqueana. Marcelo Alves mandou R$5. Arthur Vitor mandou 1 centavo de Pix Muqueana. Adaiano Felipe mandou 75 centavos. Jacqueline Mato mandou 20 centavos e por aí vai. Celso Hamilton mandou R$15. Paulo Henrique mandou R$15. Aqui já me deu pra ler mais tudo, gente. Muito bem, vamos acompanhando tudo aqui. Vamos lá. Pedro, quando vai abrir o cone de nariz? Daqui a pouquinho. Pedro Booster pousou, tá bom? O pessoal tá fazendo uma zona ali na SpaceX sem tamanho, né? Olha, e batemos o recorde de pessoas aqui nessa live, hein? Passamos das 6.000 pessoas, tá? Chegamos aqui, ó, a 6.600 pessoas. Que maravilhoso. Salve pra esposa do Johnny Marcon, a Melissa, muito bem. Fã do Space Orb. Rodrigo Carvalho, salve pra você. Obrigado a todos que mandaram os superchats aqui ao longo da transmissão durante o corte, tá? Durante o corte é um pouco mais difícil de ler. Quer ver aqui, ó, o Fábio Martins mandou 1,90. Aí os outros YouTube já não mostra. Quero agradecer a vocês que mandaram, tá bom? Emocionante demais assistir essa transmissão histórica. Parabéns pela dedicação, Pedro. Valeu. Minha querida Rosana Portela, uma das membros mais antigas do Space Orbit. Valeu. Júlio César mandou aqui R$20. Te sigo desde o começo do ano. É o primeiro lançamento que consigo pegar ao vivo antes. Só conseguia ver o teste do Starship. Boa, moleque. Valeu. Obrigado, meu querido. Fernando mandou 100 conto. Eu vi aqui. Fernando agradeci na hora do tempo. Bom, por enquanto tá tudo dentro da normalidade. Quem são os guerreiros que estão aqui desde as 5? Eu tô aqui desde as... Quem tá desde o começo a falar aí? Muito bem. Deixa eu pegar o momento. Eu tava soltando, fazendo corte aqui, deu pau. Vou ter que fazer um corte diferente. Eliezer, muito bem, muita gente desde o começo aqui, muito obrigado mesmo, valeu. Eu cheguei com 14 minutos no início da live, maravilha, hoje foi dia de recorde, para o Spacial SpaceX, fantástico. Perdão, não chegar aí aos 15 setembro, vão chegar sim, tá? Não abriu o cone de nariz ainda, sabe? Cara, já abriu a essa altura, tá? Eu acho. Deixa eu ver aqui. Tá solzinho aqui. Maravilha. Muito bem, o Brasil vai dar pra ver. Do Brasil vai dar pra ver algum dia. Cara, é muito difícil conseguir, tá? O cara desmaiou, disse da esquerda cortar um vídeo por causa disso. Desmaiou. Deixa eu ver aqui. Gabriel mandou 1,90 aqui, muito obrigado. Deixa eu ver.
Hoje,
Robert Veloso mandou 5 reais aqui pra gente. Meus filhos, curte seu canal, Pedro Otávio de 9 anos, Guilherme de 7 anos e Letícia de 6 anos. Muito obrigado, valeu mesmo. Estamos olhando aqui. O talvez é que o Chris apagou, cara, ó. Ele tá quietinho ali, os braços dele levantou. Rodrigo Carvalho mandou 2 reais aqui, o André Borg mandou 10 reais, mandou 10 reais pro Adiaça, muito obrigado. Marcelo Perotto mandou aqui, mandar um abraço pra minha esposa Viviane, salve para ela. Também o Rodrigo Carvalho manda um alô pra Thiago do Rio de Janeiro, sou fã de longa data, valeu. Pedrão, valeu pelas grandes experiências, muitas emoções no ar, parabéns, valeu, brigadão mesmo. Agora eles estão falando agora que eles fazem uma série de queimos, eu falei pra vocês, pra chegar em essa altitude de 575 km. A injeção orbital não é o suficiente pra fazer isso, tá? Então estão fazendo essas queimas, um pouquinho que eles fazem já aumenta a altitude, tá bom? Olha as mãos dele, tá, então, tipo, ele ficou com a mão reta, quando você sobe a mão, geralmente você apagou. Vamos ver. Olha, estão falando que não vai ter visão do cone de nariz. Vamos ver o que eles estão falando aqui. Por enquanto não vai ter imagem do cone de nariz. Eu acho que o cara já tava passando mal ali, hein. Tá vendo aqui? Vai todo mundo passar o replay. Estamos em órbita, muito bem. Agora eles estão que eles chamam de cruising orbit. Daqui a pouco eles vão subir essa órbita, tá? Então é normal essa órbita subir, tá bom? Eles vão aumentando essa órbita. Já faz tempo que não vejo as lives, mas tô tendo muita tarefa de escola. Eu lembro de ter assistido a primeira live só quando você tinha 10k. Valeu, Luiz Joga, brigadão, meu filho, valeu mesmo. Pedro, não esqueça de mim, tô aqui firme e forte até o final. Boa, Gustavo, tamo junto. Vamos ver, acho que eles vão terminar. Acho que eles vão acabar a live, mas a gente passa o replay aqui antes. Vamos lá, Luciano Garcia, gente, fácil ser PM. Foi Luiz, obrigado pelo belo trabalho, meu amigo. Forte abraço. Valeu, Eduardo. Obrigadão, meu querido. Meu pix chegou aí do Magdiel. Deixa eu ver aqui. Magno Leandro mandou 5 reais aqui. Alô para meus irmãos Flávio Leandro e Angra do 6. Estou em Saboeiro, Ceará. Valeu, obrigado. SpaceX terminou a live. Vamos passar o replay do lançamento. Vamos para o replay. Peraí. Vamos para o replay. Passou na Globo News, mas eu acompanhei por aqui. Cara,
And finally for today, the thank yous. Kennedy Space Center, the Eastern Range for the support getting us through the countdown, the FAA for launch approval, and of course the Inspiration 4 crew for the confidence in space.
Eu aqui pensando que eu tava sem live e eu não tinha cortado.
second stage lights up and propels the second.
Copy that, Dragon.
Point. And the crew has just been so incredible. It's been so amazing to watch them through.
Stage is complete. They closed out right on as they get ready to have Inspiration 4 team inspire the world.
Aqui, rasgando os céus. Aqui, o foguete é só essa parte aqui de cima, ó. Isso aqui é só o motor dele jogando combustível. Hoje, senhores, foi um dia histórico. Tivemos o voo do Benson, que é um espaço-plano, não conta, foi até obesos, com uma aula de sangue, mas que eu mais da hora foi mesmo o da SpaceX. O SpaceX é muito bom. Não, mas é SpaceX também, né? Eles sabem para lançamento. Não é como se fosse